Okay, so while I'm getting my coffee, I'll just play this little video. It's the Sony A9 for stills and the a6 400 for the video. So enjoy. See you in a few minutes, guys. Okay, so while I'm getting my coffee, I'll just play this little video. It's the Sony.
I grew up without a scar, just living my life with no big worries. And I've always known what I want, just didn't know what came along. Finding myself much less happy. Back in the days I used to dream about one day a life so amazing, not everyone judging me. Don't wanna care about them, though it hurts so bad. I wanna stay wide open, 'cause if I shut down, it just gives them right. I wanna stay wide open. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. I wanna stay wide open. Can't stand to hear more today. I'm gonna lock my door and stay inside away until I'm safe again. I have nothing more to put on. I'm defeated and withdrawn, just trying to understand where it went wrong. Always believe that nothing good in life is free, but it's overwhelming how people can hate on me. Don't wanna care about them, though it hurts so bad. I wanna stay wide open, 'cause if I shut down, it just gives them right. I wanna stay wide open. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. I wanna stay wide open. No one can break me, no one can bring me down. I wanna be where I'm safe and sound. Don't wanna care about them, though it hurts so bad. I wanna stay wide open. Don't wanna care about them, though it hurts so bad. I wanna stay wide open, 'cause if I shut down, it just gives them right. I wanna stay wide open. Oh, oh, oh. I wanna stay wide open.
Well, g'day everyone. Back for our, well, it's not a usual show. I'm a day late. I'm here. So welcome everyone. Good to see you here. Got some interesting things to talk about today. We're going to sort of continue with the a7c rumours and look at the Panasonic's new releases, some Canon overheating still problems. Then also looking at the Panasonic S5. So we've got a few things that we can look at today all together. So I'm really looking forward to it, actually. I think that was shot with the Sony A9 was the video and the a6 400 was the stills in the video that you just watched. So that was using APS-C for the stills. Just something for you to look at while we're going. So let me just quit that. And let's see who's in the live chat. We are in pre-show, guys. So if you don't want to watch this, skip down. There'll be a timeline down below. Let me take these off. Okay, so let's see who's here. So we've got Dana, first thumbs up. Thank you very much for a thumbs up already, Dana. Barry's also here. Sizzleman. G'day, Kevin. Leslie said, hi, David, and all looking forward to the morning show. Raymond is saying, glad to be back and only one thumbs down. We have only got one thumbs down. I think I got a thumbs down before I even started. Haters will be haters. Basement dwellers living with their grandmother down in their basement. Chris said, hello, David. Hot day in Los Angeles, having a few milliliters. Woohoo! Oh, milliliters. Cheers. Hello, all. Yeah, it's a beautiful day here today, too. I think it's around 20 Celsius today, I think. It's lovely out there now. Chris said, Go with the camera said, hello all. Julian said, once again, it's good to see you looking great, David. The A7 Mark IV is really interesting. It's going to happen. I think I'm still predicting that we're going to see that camera released sometime this year. Jean said, hello from Calgary. Like said, happy Saturday crew or Friday, depending on where you're at. Mark's here as well. G'day, Mark. Lightout said, hello all from Hamilton, Canada. Stephen said, good morning all. Jean said, what's the Milo? Where's the Milo? It's here. Yum. Nice chocolate drink. Like I said, it'll start warming up pretty soon and I'll be back on the harder beverages with you guys. I've got to drink all of those tequila shots that I did for that product photography. I'll show you. Hang on, stay right there. So I've got stacks of these to get through. They're all different types. I've got a whole stack of different ones. So it's going to be yummy. I'm going to save them for when it warms up a little bit. I might have a couple over the weekend, though, because I have got quite a few. I said, do you want them back? And he said, no, just drink them. So I'm very happy. What else have we got? Lightout said, from Canada, I think I read that one. Stephen said, good morning all. Jean said, what's the wisdom? I've done that one. John's also saying hello. A thumbs down is a thumbs down is a thumbs up. I know, that's the funny thing. I don't think they realise that when they give you a thumbs down, it's counted as a actual engagement. So they're actually helping you, which is quite funny. Dana said, Fujifilm's F1 could use a mention. I'm going to talk about that today, Dana, actually, in one of the stories. Guy with the camera, year is going by fast, starting to doubt the A7 Mark IV this year. I still think it will be, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. I still think we'll see that camera. Greetings from a hot and humid Panama City, Florida. Hello from Nicaragua. Is W by, I think it's Wagstein as well as here as well. So we've got a few now popping in. We still got a few. Oh, no, we're just about there, actually, for starting the show. I'll give it a couple more minutes, though. So pop in and say hi if you are in the live chat. Guys, I will leave a timeline down below, too. So if you don't want to watch all of this, you can skip it. Raymond said, Kiara is so growing into a wonderful model and woman. That latest video of you and she in that photo session was so awesome. Just had to congratulate you two again. Yeah, I know, it was good, wasn't it? She asked me to do that, something a little bit more sexy. So if you haven't watched that, check it out. I'll show you. I should be able to show you a photo. Let me just open up here. Let me open this up. Open with preview. Just so that you can get an idea of the shoot. It was this one here. So let me just enlarge it up a little bit. So you can sort of see here the type of shoot that we did. It was lovely. I mean, she was wearing, one of the parts she was wearing just a T-shirt, others she was just wearing like a man's shirt. It's a little bit more sexy, but Kiara's over 18 now, so it's all fine. And she wanted to do something a little bit more mature and a little bit more sexy. So if you haven't watched it, please go and have a look at that video. We had so much fun doing that. So, yeah. Now too, if you haven't checked my latest video, go and check out the video that I've just done with this little beauty. I've put a whole review up of this Rogetti tripod head. So if you haven't seen this, check it out. This, I'm not joking. This is expensive though. It's $740 dollars. So it's not cheap. But Ben, in fact, who is a real estate photographer, who we always see on here as well, asked me if he could have it because he does real estate photography and he understands the beauty of having a gearhead tripod. This is probably, I'm not joking now, look, yes, it was sent to me, but I don't do this normally. This is probably the nicest bit of gear that I've ever touched in my life. And the reason why I'm saying that is because of the way this is machined. It is stunning. And just the way that it works with the precise movements for shooting stuff like these product photography and things like that. And if you're doing landscape and you want to get everything dead level, just to be able to move these things in minute amounts is stunning. But the machining on this and the build quality of this is incredible. You know, and if you want to do panos, you can undo here and then move like the pano head. It's got all markings on there. It gives you guides for lenses on there. There's bubble levels everywhere. It's stunning. And just every little part about this that comes is just manufactured so well. So if you haven't seen the review, just go and watch it. I mean, I love the support anyway, but just watch it. It is fantastic. I absolutely adore that tripod head. So if you haven't watched that, please do. Now, just before we start, let me just catch up with where we were. Yeah, Kiara is amazing, I know, and I'll work with her again once we're in lockdown. Once that comes off, we're still in lockdown here, probably for another few weeks. So hopefully once that's out, I'll be able to shoot with Kiara again. Like I said, thanks on the 30,000, congrats on the 30,000 subs. Thank you so much. It means a lot. I'm so happy because it's 30,000 engaged subscribers. I mean, you guys always get involved with the videos and stuff like that as well. Brian said, hello from Colorado. Rabbit said, 2 a.m. South Africa, and I'm watching this. Wow, well, thank you for staying up and watching. Roland said, David, is the Sony A9 good for video? Yes, it's my favorite video camera at this stage. Until I may get the A7S III, I'm still just about pulling that trigger. Until I get that, the A9 is my favorite video camera out of all of them. It's, look, I think the sensor is the big thing about that there's less rolling shutter and you're getting beautiful full frame footage in 1080p. I think it's better than the A7 III. So it is my favorite. That's a personal choice, but it is my favorite video camera. I don't use profiles though. If you use profiles, it's no good for you because there aren't any there, but I shoot standard. So I'm not worried about that. Matt TV said, love your beard. Thank you so much. Kerry likes it too. I think, I don't know, it's something a bit different. I thought I'd do it while I was in lockdown. All right, and we also had Dimple also said hello from Singapore. So let's get started on the show. Let me just put down here the story. Show start is 13:45, just so people can join us later on. See you in a minute. Well, welcome everyone. I'm just trying to open this email because Aaron sent, he actually put this article inside. He said he found this from 6 years ago on Sony Alpha Rumours, and I wanted to, oops, let me just stop that. I need to find where it is because it's talking about the A7 III, and I wanted to see if I could find it. Where was it? Oh, I'll open up Photography Videography School. Let me show you through there because they basically licensed this camera that I'm going to talk about, the a7c, 6 years ago, I think. So let me just open up the photography videography school, and then I'll show you where that post is. Let me see if I can find it, because it's really interesting to see how long ago that they were sort of thinking about doing a full frame camera inside the A6000 type body. So let me open this up. And now I've just got to see if I can find it. So this is the photography videography school. If you haven't joined it, please do. You can see the ampersand up there. It's photography and videography school. So you can see where it's joined up there. Here. All right. So I wanted to open this up just to show you. All right. So let me just start the first story anyway while we're here. Let me put that timing in, which is 16:09. All right, because this is really interesting, because Aaron found this and it came back. You can see here that it's listed on October the 31st, 2013. And they're saying here, the super compact E-mount full frame camera patent. And so it's obviously been sort of coming around. It may look, when you sort of look like this here, it looks more like an NEX camera, I think, rather than the A600 type looking camera, but it just shows how long ago they were thinking about putting a full frame sensor into this sort of size body that they're talking about here. You can see the A7s on this side. It would have been the A7 in those days. It's probably the A7 I. But yeah, it says more like an NEX7 alike camera. But, you know, it sort of just shows how long these things sort of keep going or sort of are patented from. And that's why you often say, well, they can't change things very quickly, because the designs have come from years back. And that's the interesting thing. Nothing is designed very quickly. They take years to sort of develop. So that's that. Now, let me just go to the first story here, which is this, which is the Sony a7c. Now, the interesting thing here is that they're now saying, and I wanted to have a discussion with you about this, is that they're now saying it's going to be only 4K 30p, priced with a pancake kick lens, about €2,300, but they're saying the most beautiful e-camera yet. Now, I'm not sure what they mean by the most beautiful, if it's based off just the A600. I'm not quite sure, but I did notice that they did say that there was two colors, two versions of this. They were talking about a silver version and also a black version, but the silver version I think only has some silver accents that are going to be on the top. But this is the interesting thing, and I wanted to chat with you guys about this, is that they're saying it's nearly exactly the same A7 III specs. The same 24 megapixel sensor. The autofocus algorithm, though, is the one from the a7S III. So the autofocus is going to be a fairly big improvement. You know, you'll get the tracking and everything else. And the a7S III, from what I've seen, is very, very good. Probably not as good as the A9, but it's certainly better than what the a7 III has. 4K 30p, damn, no 4K 60. They may not be able to put 4K 60 into that size body, and that could be the issue with trying to stick it inside a A600 size body. They might just not be able to take the heat. The camera is slightly bigger than the A600, and from what people have told me, it's the most beautiful E-mount camera yet. They still say mid-September announcement. Similar Sony a7 III specs as the a7S III. In other words, it's basically the same, I think. Probably the same sensor, which is a bit disappointing because, you know, it's been out for, 3 years or so, that camera. Autofocus algorithm is one from the a7S III. 4K 30. Body shape is the a6600 with the EVF in the corner. Camera is only slightly larger. Battery is the Z battery, basically. It's got USB Type-C, single card slot. It has both mic in, headphone jack, Wi-Fi. Price will be above the A7 III. And this is what interests me. They're also saying the new lenses will be announced too, and they're going to be sort of coded V amounts, so they're going to be very small type lenses, probably sort of something similar to the 35, the full frame 35 f2.8, you know, sort of that sort of size that they're sort of dealing with. They reckon the first one is going to be the 28 to 60 f4.5 to 5.6. But if they're saying this is 2.3, a kit lens is not really worth that much. I still think it's probably going to be around $2,000 without the kit lens. Now that's euros, so what would that probably bring? Say $1,700 USA, something around there, $1,800. But what worries me is that it's only got one card slot. Now, yes, videographers and YouTubers who this camera is targeted at, they've deliberately targeted that at vloggers and YouTubers, may not worry about the fact that it only has one card slot. They would probably prefer the fact that it has that fold-out flippy screen and the touch interface on the screen as well. But how does it compare, say, to the competition that's out there? Well, let's look at the Z5. All right, so the Z5 is a new camera that's out. It's a 24 megapixel sensor, but it's not backside illuminated. It's a hybrid AF system with 273 phase detect points. Now we know the autofocus is probably going to be very, very good on this, but it may not be as good as the a7S3 autofocus. So Sony a7c may be slightly better. 4.5 frames continuous shooting. They haven't mentioned what this will be in the continuous shooting yet, I don't think, the Sony. 5-axis in-body image stabilization. The EVF will be way better on the Nikon. Dual USD cards, so it beats it with the dual USD cards. Probably similar 4K footage, but this could be the difference. The Sony may not crop, because they haven't sort of mentioned that the 4K 30 will crop. The Nikon has a massive crop of 1.7. 1080p 60, no crop, headphone and microphone ports, dust and moisture sealed. But the interesting thing here is that this camera for body only sells for $13.99, and with a kit lens, it's $16.99. So this is probably, but that's US. So spec-wise, this is probably going to come underneath what Sony are asking for the a7c. Let's check Canon. Canon have also announced that they're going to release, or they haven't announced, but there's rumours on Canon, rumours that they're going to bring out a sub 1000 full frame EOS R camera in 2021. They're not sort of mentioning much at this stage about what the specs are, but I would think it's probably going to be similar specs to what the EOS R is now, because the new cameras will be out by then. And I think the new entry level probably will be 1080p, possibly 4K with a big crop as well that's in it. But this also is going to be under $1,000. So I'm just wondering about whether this is going to be way overpriced. What do you guys think? I'd love to know, and I'd love you to sort of mention in the live chat whether you think that this, when you look at, say, compared to the Z5, when you compare it to the Canon that they're saying now is going to be announced late this year or early next year, is going to be under $1,000 United States dollars. Have they priced this at too much? It's basically exactly the same specs as the a7 III, but you're in a smaller body. You probably definitely now looks like you won't get 4K 60. Well, you haven't got in the a7S III either. But the a7S III has the advantage of having the dual card slots. But it doesn't have the fold-out screen, and it doesn't have the touch interface that this would have. But I think if you're looking at being a professional photographer or a videographer, I think you'd be better off with an a7S III to have the dual card slots. What do you guys think? I think it might be slightly overpriced, guys. I mean, look, I still admire Sony for bringing this out, because look, anything in the marketplace that they bring out new is good, and if you don't want to buy it, you just don't buy it. So that's fine, and I fully understand that. But they're marketing this as being cheap, as being less sort of spec. I shouldn't say less spec, same sort of specs as what the a7 III has, but it's going to be priced at slightly more than the a7 III. I don't know which. I probably would buy the a7 III if it's spec'd as it is. It might be wrong. Sony may say it's got other things when this is released. I mean, Sony Alpha Rumours potentially could have the specs wrong here. Remember, we're only dealing with rumours, but we should be able to find out in another week or so, another couple of weeks. What do you guys think? Let me pop over to the chat, because I'm just curious to know what you guys think about this. It does look like the NX5, that one. I agree, but they probably, because it's 5 years old, that thing that I showed you, or 6 years old, it probably has changed since then, but it probably has still been built from that patent, I would say. Raymond said, I have on order on Kickstarter an item called a Platyball Elite. Looks to be a neat device which you can attach to a tripod head. Well, I'll have to look at that. It has a display that shows how many degrees off level you are. Low shot benefit. Cool. That's the size of the a5 100, a tiny camera. Yep. Hopefully 4K 60 crop at least. Yeah, but then they're now sort of saying that there's no 4K 60, but that, like I said, that could be wrong. One card slot, 4K 60 and a camera over $2,000 in 2020 is unacceptable. I sort of think the same thing as you, Kevin. What do they mean beautiful? Laugh out loud really means nothing. Yeah, I don't really understand that term either, Mark. I'm not quite sure about if it looks basically like the a6600. I don't know where they get that beautiful thing from, unless it's a complete new redesign. Aaron, g'day Aaron. I'm driving and at traffic light. Got 2 hours to go. Just saying hi to David and chat. Oh, thanks, Aaron. At least you joined us. I'm sure you'll watch this a bit later. I just showed that new camera that you sent me. You know, the not the new camera. I showed you how you found that old patent for the full frame Sony camera, Aaron. At that price, I would prefer the A5 or the Z5. Yeah, the Z5. Mark said, it is what it is, simply entry-level full frame. Don't expect God made for this mode. Yeah, the only thing that I'm confused about, though, is the pricing. I think it probably should have been priced underneath the a7 III. That's the only thing I'm a little bit curious about. If this is spec basically as the a7 III, but just with a flip-out screen and the touch interface, I still think the a7 III is a better buy. I think it's got a better body. And also you've got the dual card slots. So, yeah, I'm not sure. But like I said, it's still there. You don't have to buy it if you don't want to buy it, and it probably will be a great option for vloggers and YouTubers that don't care about the single card slot. The fold-out screen is a big advantage. Susan May, I just said, I just hope SARS is wrong. Guy with the camera said it needs 4K 60 to justify a $2,000 price rise. It's going to be interesting, though, to see if they're saying that's euro, what price does that bring it in the US? Is it about $1,700? They're saying 2,300 euro for with the kit lens. But remember, the kit lens is worth nothing to add on to these cameras. So what would you think it would be? $1,800 US dollars? Let me know. Timothy said, yes, probably overpriced. Brian said, I personally am eyeing an A9 and hoping this will drive their prices down further. I wouldn't hesitate at all to buy an A9. If I didn't have one or my A9 malfunctioned or broke, I would get another one in a heartbeat. I love it that much. Dana said, looking forward to the lower prices that used full frame cameras will have when these new low cost full frame come out. Mark said, is this the first time a camera has been overpriced? No. The A9 came out way too expensive. Yeah, well, it was. I paid $7,000 for mine, Mark, when it was released. Chris said, thought it would be a good travel camera, but at that price is a little high. I'll just take my A9. Look, sometimes, and I had a discussion about this with Aaron the other day, the difference between, say, grabbing an A6 400 with a lens and the A7 sort of A7 III with a lens really is minimal. It's not that much different. Yeah, I mean, look, yes, if you're lugging around something like this, the ZV-1, yes, that is different. That is definitely pocketable and makes a massive difference. But when you're talking about an A6 400 with a lens on it as compared to an A7 III with a lens on it, I don't really think there's that much difference. I really don't. But you guys can say I'm wrong, but I really don't think for travel it makes much difference at all. I wouldn't count the A7 III as a big, heavy camera anyway. particularly the a7 III, which is the earlier body. Remember, the a7R4 has a slightly larger body. Well, that is a little bit bigger, but even then I don't think it's classified as a big camera. It's not like you're lugging around, you know, a big Nikon or a big Canon body that's out there. The bodies themselves are quite small. I mean, if you look at these images, they're not drastically that much different, are they? I mean, if you look at them, it's not to the point where you would think, wow, one is massively larger than the other. I don't think so anyway. Let's keep going down and having a look, see what people are saying. Chris said, thought it would be a good travel camera, but the price is a little high. I'll just take my A9. Ergonomics and price is not appealing. The A7C should be $12.99 max. Well, that's why I'm saying if you're looking at the Nikon Z5 there, when we looked at that, that was $13.99 with the body only, which is interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Overpriced like the A6600 as well. G'day, Langston. How are you? $1,200 or $1,500. The A9 is acceptable size travel camera with very little compromise. It's typically the lenses that add up to the weight. Yeah, and it usually is. You're exactly right. Leslie said the flip-out screen is the big plus and the easy setup, but $2,000 US. Oh, no, that's the killer. If it is $2,000 US, that is really expensive. Shane said, SARS rumours tend to be solid a week before the release. Up until then, they're a bit all over the place. Some of the A7S III rumours, it had a 4K until the final week. Agree with David, the A9 is a no-brainer. Shane said, SAR didn't get the A7S III 120 spec. Kind of a big deal. Yeah, and you may be right. That could be, they may add something like 4K 60 in this. The size difference is not much, but holding them for a few hours, you start to feel the difference. Langston said it's basically 4K with the tax, though. Oh, yeah, you're talking about the A7S III, yep. Aaron said, yeah, I agree about the size. Not a huge difference. The A6600 versus the A7 III. I got it with talking about that's talking to each other there. I wish Sony would downsample from full Sony sensor, not just 6K. All right, so that's the first story. So let's go on to this because this is cool. Aaron and myself, the funny thing is this next story, Aaron and myself talked about this. Let me just put in the time. 33:47. Aaron and myself talked about this the other day. And we talked about what would it be like if you could have your mobile phone and stick the Sony Xperia, which is an amazing interface. It's beautiful, in fact, on the back of it. Or imagine if Apple did one with an iPhone and then it was just the interface at the back linked to the camera. How amazing would that be? Well, it's funny because a guy on Sony Alpha Rumours put together a mock diagram. And this was the funny thing because we spoke about this just the other day, Aaron and myself. Let me just enlarge this. Let me just go into here. Oh, I'm in the wrong one. Where are we? That one, is it? Yes. Let me just enlarge this a little bit. Then move it over just so I can show you the size. I have to remember to put this back again, otherwise it's going to go crazy. All right, so this is the sort of interface that they've shown here.
You're asking me?
Shush, Siri.
David.
So what do you think? I mean, this is the exact thing that Aaron and myself discussed the other day. And I don't know why no one has... I think someone did do this, didn't they? It might have been Samsung. I can't remember, but someone did do this a while ago as a thing, and it didn't go anywhere. But I think if someone like Sony or Canon or Apple or someone like that, Nikon, sort of teamed up with, well, Apple wouldn't need to, but others would. Sony have got the most amazing ability to do this because they're probably the only company that can do this in-house. Samsung could, but they don't produce any full-frame cameras anymore. So this is really interesting because Sony maybe potentially, and I do think this is going to happen one day, and I've spoke about this before. I spoke about this a long time ago, actually, because I held up my mobile phone and just put it on the back of the camera and said this would be an incredible interface if someone could do that. Well, Sony probably could be the first to do this, because the only one that have, say, the Sony Xperia line, the sensors, and also they do the full frame cameras or the APS-C type cameras. This would be fantastic if they could do something like this. Imagine the beautiful interface of like using your iPhone or, you know, your Sony Xperia type phone and communicating with your camera like this does. I mean, this really would be an incredible game changer, and I'm surprised that no one has ever done it. Now, some of you may like the way that the cameras run now, but I'm telling you, if people the younger generation that are coming up would just drool over something like this, because they're so used to using the camera interfaces on their mobile phones, that to be able to do this would be game changing, I think. And it certainly is something that I would have thought, wow, why has no one ever done this really full on? And when I saw this, I laughed, because this is exactly what Aaron and myself spoke about the other day on our live show on Tuesday. So what do you think? I mean, would you be interested in something like this? Is this something that interests you, or do you like the interface the way it is? I would love this personally, but I'm a bit of an IT tech geek. So this to me would be incredible if they could do something like this. Others may think, no, I like the interface the way it is. But either way, Sony would have to improve their screens. We all know at the moment the screens suck on the Sony cameras compared to, say, what Canon have got, what the Panasonics have got, and what Nikon have got. In fact, I think I watched Tony and Chelsea review the Panasonic the other day, the S5. And if you looked at the S5 when she showed it out in daylight, compared to what the daylight footage looked like on the Sony a7 III, they used an a7 III comparison compared to the Panasonic S5. The Panasonic blew the Sony away for the back screen. The back screen on the Sonys is terrible, and I don't know why they don't update them. So this would be fantastic if they could do something like this. Now, let me reduce this back down just so we're ready for the next story. Otherwise, it's going to have issues. All right, let me just go back over the chat. I'm just curious to see if people are saying anything about this or answer some questions as we go along. Where were we? Down here. All right, guy with the I was talking to Langston. Am I the only one that really dislikes the flippy screens? Will cameras ever go back to the way we were at the mercy of vloggers forever? Well, the interesting thing is there, Reginald, that remember, I love the flip out screen, but the good part is you don't have to use it if you don't want to. Keep it closed. The great thing with the flipped out screens is that if we open this up, and this is why I can never understand why people whinge about it, because, you know, if you open this up and that's now the flip out screen, just use it like that, and then you don't have to worry about it. It's no longer a flip out screen. This is the thing why I can never understand why people whinge about having the screens the way that they are. So if you don't want to have a fold out screen, keep it closed. The other benefit too is that you can close it that way and the screen doesn't get damaged. So I also think that's a great advantage as well. Oh, I was on the wrong screen. Oop, let me just show you again here. All right, so go like that. If you don't want it flip out screen, fold it back, which then means it's just like your normal screen that the Sony cameras have. Yes, you can't tilt it up. That's the one downside. You can't sort of tilt it up if you want to work low. But if you do need that aspect of it, it's not that hard to just flip it out and then work like this. But the benefit now is that with these, is that, you know, this one doesn't do it. Oh, yes, it does. This one, if you're sort of working up high, you can hold it above like that, you know, and then you can sort of hold it that way. If you're working down really low, you can get down low like this and then use it that way. But the great thing is when you close it, you don't have the screen there. So I think that's a fantastic benefit of having a fold-out flippy screen. If you don't like the flippy screen, do like what I said, keep it closed. Just turn it the other way and keep it closed. Let me keep going down here. Langston said, David, have you used the UI on any of the Blackmagic cameras touchscreen? No, yes, I have. They were amazing, Langston. I really enjoyed using them. I used them last year. I was given one to play around with for a couple of hours. The screens were amazing. Love the name on the A7 RAI 5G. Would love that interface. I know, I agree, Aaron. Smooth Reflections, I went back. I want that back. Oh, yeah, Smooth Reflections was a cool app. I know, I love that. Leslie said it would be a plus if the phone could click on and off and back on. Carl said, what would be great is having the camera recognize voice commands where you could just say any parameter and pull up the menu or follows voice command. That probably would happen too, because you'd have something like Siri or something or other that could interface with the camera as well. That would be great. Time-lapse should also assemble a video file. Yep, I agree. Shane said, David, are you sure you want to blow out the highlights? I love it. You imagine if Siri did say that. David, are you sure you want to blow out those highlights? You do realise you're overexposing this photo, don't you? It'll get to that point at one stage with AI. Another 115 people hit the like button. Go. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, please, if you can, I really would appreciate it if you could hit the like button. I don't want the phone involved in any of my camera operations. Drove proved that was a bad idea already. People literally pay thousands of dollars to add flippy screens to professional rigs. Yep. Not sure who told the people they were just for vloggers. It's only what Sony have said about that camera, Langston. They've said they're sort of pushing it through Sony alpha rumors. It's not what Sony have said. Oh, yeah, they did say it actually in a public announcement. They sort of said that it was... No, it is Sony alpha rumors have said it. They said they'd heard that, I think, that it was for vloggers or YouTubers. We won't know that for full until it's released by Sony, until the public announcement's been done. Shadow said, I have purchased the A7S3, no tax, free overnight shipping. Congratulations. How exciting for you. Remen said, I also love the screen protection aspect. I do too. I love that aspect of being able to turn the screen in and then you can't get it scratched. It's one of the main things about it. Mic cover on the Panasonic S5 gets covered. I'll talk about that in a second. The SH1 screen is the proper implementation. Yeah, that does look really good actually in the SH1. A lot of people will probably end up snapping it off. I haven't heard of many people actually snapping off their screens though. Honestly, have you ever known someone to do that? I haven't. So, I don't know. D. Ogle said, was considering the XT4. What are your thoughts, David? The XT4 is a great camera, a really good camera. It really just depends. I think at the moment, if you'd like the ultimate APS-C type camera, I think the XT4 is probably it. If you would like to go full frame, then I would say don't go Fuji, obviously, because they don't do it. I'd wait and see first what the a7c has. But is there a reason why you'd like to go APS-C? Do you need that for the reach, etc.? I think if that's what you want to go, it's a great camera. So I've certainly got no doubts about it. I think at the moment the XT4 is definitely the best APS-C camera that's out there. Canon R5 screen is quite good compared to, it's much better. If you look at the R5 screen against the Sonys, it blows it away. Honestly, it blows it away. There is a rumour that I'm not sick of rumours. Jim said, hi, Jim, how are you? Tony said, the blonde beard is looking kind of Snow White, David. No, it's blonde. Guys, this is not grey. This is blonde. If this looks grey to you or Snow White, you need to calibrate your monitors. Japan said, hi, David, my first time. Well, thank you for joining us. The camera with the Android interface is the Samsung NX100. Yep, okay, well, there you go. Like I said, I do believe Sony will do this eventually. I really do believe that one day Sony will mix their Xperia type interface with an A7 series type camera. And could you imagine that thing will sell like nuts? I'd say it'd sell like hotcakes, but Casey will tell me off. Camera conspiracies always goes crook at me when I say that. All the cameras need live video streaming from camera using Wi-Fi, hotspot, or LAN. Juicy said, good morning, David. Look, great. Thank you so much. Will Sony update the a7R4 to new menus? Nope. I don't think you're going to see that at all, unfortunately. I think the only way you'll get the new menus is if you buy a new camera now. I was hoping that, you never know, I was hoping that they bring that out on the ZV-1. I don't think so, though. I mean, it is the flip-out screen, but I was hoping they'd bring out the same sort of touch menu interface. Sony, if you're listening. We're not going to see it on the a7R4, and we won't see it on the a9 II. I don't think you'll see that at all. I think it's a bit of a cripple hammer by Sony not doing it, though, because you can't tell me that they couldn't do that with those latest two cameras. I can't believe it would be that processor intensive that, you know, if a camera can process 60 megabyte files, it could have menus that could do what it does. I know Langston said last time he thought it might be harder than you think, but I don't believe it. I think that Sony are just holding back and forcing you to buy a new camera. So I don't think you'll see that at all in the a7R4 or the A9, unfortunately. Jim Laugh-Out, yep, calibration time. If you're seeing my beard as white, it's calibration time, guys. The hot blonde gnome. Tony said, really enjoyed that follow-up review of the a7R4. I've still got to do it, I know. I've never got around to doing that, have I? I have white on my phone too. Yeah, see? What sort of phone have you got? It must be a crappy one. When will the Sony Alpha A7... Well, I still think I'm tipping before the end of the year. Remember, you're dealing with now that Sony still haven't got an answer. If you look at what that camera is, when you look at this new camera, this does not compete with the R6, the Canon R6, does it? There's no way that this competes with anything that the R6 has put out, or those high-end type cameras that have 4K 60 in a hybrid type camera. Remember the a7S3 does, but that's only really look, you can do stills, and I've done a whole video review of that. About 12 megapixel is probably enough for some people, but it's not a true hybrid camera. It's more of a videographer's camera. Sony haven't yet announced a really good hybrid camera that can do 4K 60. That will be the a7 IV, and I still believe that will come out before the end of the year. So let's see what happens. If it doesn't, it certainly will be early next year. What else have we got? Yep, blonde beard, just like your jacket is gold. Is golden yellow. Yeah, see? If you're seeing golden yellow on this, you definitely need calibration. Sony Alpha A7 IV, how much will it cost? Well, it's going to be expensive. If they're pricing this camera at $2,000, what's the a7 IV going to be? Slightly under the a7S3, I would think. Raymond said, I'm getting the a7S3 too. I wonder how the Wi-Fi will be implemented, as no reviews have talked about it. Maybe more surprises, maybe. With my menu option, I don't mind the old menu. Tima said, I believe the a7 IV is dead until 2026. Last year, the Sony a7 IV release date January 2020, but it's not released in September. Yeah, I don't think so. I think we're going to see it more sooner than later. Because like I said, they really have to compete with something like what the Z6, the R6 has. And, you know, I think they probably will. And that's about it. All right, well, let's go to the next story. I want to talk about the Panasonic S5. All right, so let's go on to that. Now, funny thing was, Aaron contacted me. He sent me a message early in the morning. Let me just move this over. When this was released, because he was quite excited about it, and we both were. Aaron was excited until I told him the prices of the lenses. I said, go and look at the prices of the L-mount Alliance lenses, and then he went, yep. I think Sigma are going to announce some, though, which will be way, way cheaper. So it will become a much more affordable system once Sigma produce their lenses for this system. I don't think they're available yet. But the Panasonic L-mount lenses are really expensive. But, this is an interesting camera. It looks really good apart from the autofocus. I've got to do it. The autofocus. Are you ready? You ready for this? I'm going to do it again. The Panasonic autofocus. I love it because it sucks. All the reviews that I'd seen of looking at it, it was quite funny because I looked at the reviews that people were doing and they said that it was much better and all this sort of stuff. And then I watched Tony Northrup's review of it when he was doing it, and it was shocking. It was awful. It's just as bad as what I'd seen before. It couldn't get him in focus when he was right in front of the camera. It's not good. I don't understand why they don't go PDAF like everyone else. What these cameras would be incredible. Now, the AF for stills is really good, and I even found the GH5 when I had it. The stills was amazing. The autofocus for the GH5 was incredible. In fact, I was really surprised how good the autofocus for stills was. But the second you went to video, the problem with using the way that they do it, what's it called? It's, I'm just trying to see if I can find where it mentions it, because I always forget. Does it mention it anywhere? Just trying to see if it mentions it anyway. Someone in the live chat may be able to remind me. But the way that it works, the autofocus on the Panasonics, is it has to go past the subject, depth to focus, depth from defocus. Thank you so much. It goes past the subject and then it comes back. So whenever you're doing that type of thing in video, it sort of racks like this and it looks terrible. And it's very, 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 very slow. Awful in video. For stills, brilliant. In fact, really good. And I was, like I said, even the GH5, I was amazed how well it worked. But I've never, ever seen anything as good as what, you know, like the Sony implementation is and the Canon implementation is. The Nikon's pretty good as well, but those two, Canon and Sony, are by far the best two that are out there. But, you know, the thing is, what lets this camera down is that focusing, and they really should change their focusing and go to the same as what everyone else is using. But the camera itself looks great, and it looks like it's a really nicely spec camera. The body looks really nice. Let's have a look at what it sort of has in it. It uses the same 24 megapixel, and it is a backside illuminated CMOS sensor. And it also has the 96 megapixel multi-shoot mode as well. 5-axis in-body stabilization, but it's nowhere near as good as what the GH5 is. Obviously, with full frame, they can't get the stabilization like they can with the Micro Four Thirds cameras, which is a pity. It just shows sensor size has a big bearing about how that works. And in fact, Brandon Lee, I think his name is, did a video comparison the other day showing the Sony a7 III working, and the stabilization is actually really good, particularly if you use Catalyst, the new Sony software. He has a whole video about that as well, and the stabilization is really good with the Catalyst software. But the Panasonic full frame IBIS is not really that fantastic, but the specs are pretty good. It's saying it's got 5-axis in-body stabilization with up to 6.5 stops of shake reduction. I think that's more to do with the still side of things, though, because from what I'd seen in the reviews, it wasn't that fantastic. EVF is just, you know, average. LCD screen is just average. In terms of improvements, they're saying Panasonic has focused primarily I can't say it primarily on the autofocus, low light performance and video features. The AF system has been revamped and updated, and it's mentioned there, depth of defocus, depth of focus DFD. Oh, love it. It said use for the continuous AF has been improved as well, which hopefully means no wobble. Oh, love it. It's not going to happen. Look, let's face it, DFD sucks. In terms of low light, it's got the dual native ISO. Now, that's really good. They've put a dual ISO native sensor in this, and they're saying it'll work from 640 and 4000 ISO. So that beats the Sony in some regards because there's no dual ISO in the Sony a7S III. They say the a7S III has... like dual ISO, it's 16,000 ISO. But if you're using it without that's only in S-Log though, by the way. So you have to be shooting S-Log to get that bump in ISO. So they're saying if you're up, say, around 12,000 ISO, you're better to go up to 16,000 ISO. If you're shooting with standard profile, I think that they're saying the best ISO is around about 2000 ISO. After that, you start to get noise in the image on the a7S III. I read that somewhere. It might have been Gerald Undone or Brandon Lyon. I can't remember. But this has dual native ISO, which is 640 and ISO 4000. So that is a nice feature. It does have 4K 60. Now, it is only in 4-bit 20, but that's fine. But it still has 4K 60 at 10-bit, which is really good. But it has that's with an APS-C crop. So it's a 1.5 crop. And it's got 4K 30, 24p video at 10-bit 422 using the full-frame sensor. I mean, this looks like it's a really nice little camera. You can record 4K 60 10-bit 422 over HDMI, no problem. Well, there you go. So it will give you 10-bit 4K 60 422 over HDMI. Really, that's amazing. So it says, in a sense, you can think of the Lumix S5 as being a more balanced, lighter, and much cheaper little brother to the S1H, or maybe a full-frame GH5. And this is the body itself. I think the body looks really nice. I think it looks really good. I love I've always liked the way that the Panasonics are built. I think they're always beautifully built. They're very ergonomic. And I think it looks nice. They've got a flip-out screen. You can get, obviously, a battery grip if you want to make the body a little bit larger. But, anyway, that's it. So what are they saying? Now, they're saying the Lumix S5 is available for pre-order today. So it's available now. And it's $2,000 for the body only and $2,300 in a kit. So this is interesting. I mean, how do you think this compares to what Sony is saying with the a7 III? This is probably going to be the same price, but the autofocus is going to suck. But the rest of the specs look really good in that regard. Now, they're saying here that at this price, it's definitely Panasonic's S entry-level camera, at least for now. Though the entry-level moniker doesn't quite fit, since the S5 is definitely in a different league than competitors like the EOS RP and the Z5. I think they're saying it's in a better league above those two cameras. So, interesting. I'm going to keep going because I want to talk about other news with you. And then we'll open up Q&A for a minute. 58, 15. So let's look at some other things. Fuji have announced this. I think this is amazing. Good on Fuji for doing this. They've announced or unveiled the 50mm f1 lens. And this is the fastest Fuji lens ever made. And in fact, it's one of the fastest one that have autofocus. So it might be the only f1 lens that has autofocus. The world's fastest Fuji lens has ever made, and there you go. It's the world's first f1.0 autofocus lens for mirrorless cameras. I bet this thing is beautiful. It'll be expensive, but I bet this is really beautiful. Fuji has dubbed this lens the One, and is promising that it will change the way you work by providing an incredibly shallow depth of field and extremely low light performance of an f1 lens without sacrificing autofocus or skipping on weather sealing. And they've got a thing down here. I'll leave these links down below showing how it autofocus, and it looks pretty good looking at this video. When you think of the amount of glass that this is moving around, to sort of see this sort of performance is pretty good. It's saying, of course, in order to pack all of this into a single lens, Fuji wasn't exactly able to make this a compact optic. You'd expect it to be really quite big. It features a 77mm thread, which is big for a Fuji lens, and measures 4.07 inches, 103.5mm long, and weighs 1.86 pounds, 845 grams, which is not bad when you think of this is an f1 lens. It says, however, that does include the autofocus motor and full weather sealing, making this the WR lens that's protected against dust and moisture and can be used in temperatures as low as minus 10 degrees Celsius or 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Good on them. I mean, I think this is amazing. It looks beautiful if you look at the lens itself. Gorgeous. You can see there the size that it looks like on a camera. I mean, it's it's a pretty big, massive honking lens sitting on an X-T4 lens. Gives you an idea there about the sort of size that you're dealing with. Anyway, I'll leave this down below. There are some reviews there that you can have a look at as well. There's some samples too that you can see. The bokeh looks quite nice, a bit onion shaped there in the corners. But overall, the bokeh looks really quite nice. Rendering looks really good too. What are they saying the price is? $1,500. Not bad when you consider the what you're looking at for that optic. Really good. Good on Fuji. Fantastic. And I'm so happy for Fuji users out there. Pretty amazing. And I think Sony were sort of talking about this. They were mentioning that they might bring out a fast lens. And I still think that the first lens that Sony may bring out that's really fast will be an 85 1.2. Boy, I would so be tempted to buy that. I couldn't afford it at the moment, but if Sony bring that out, it will be one that I'd definitely buy eventually. I do think Sony will do an 85 1.2 eventually. Let me know in the comments box down below too, what do you think might be Sony's first one? They have talked about it before because they wanted to make a showcase lens. They still haven't done it yet, so it would be probably still in development, but I do believe that they're going to do it sooner or later. The next news item is this. Which is interesting, and I thought I'd share this for the Australian users, whether this is also going to happen overseas as well. Canon is going to close their online stores in Australia to support local retailers. And I've thought about this for a while because I have thought about that they take away sales from camera stores, and the camera stores must hate that Canons can sell directly. Now, I know Sony do that here as well. But they're saying that they're going to close their online stores from September the 30th. And they'll shut down the online store for the foreseeable future. What they will do is if you go to the Canon AU site and you try to purchase a camera, it will take you to the stores, like the official stores, like Michael's or DigiDirect or companies like that. And there's a whole article about this. I think they're saying that they're taking sales away from camera stores. I'm not sure whether this is really about them not making enough sales with their online departments, so they're now just saying they're going to palm that off into the camera stores or not. I'm not quite sure, but it's interesting, and I wonder if this is going to be something that's going to happen overseas as well. Is this Australia tactic something that's going to happen elsewhere? I've found that the interesting thing is if you often buy at the online stores for these companies, you get a better deal if you go to their stores anyway. So it's an interesting story. Anyway, I just thought that I'd share that with you. The last story is this one, and I thought I'd share this because this was a really interesting story that I found on Petapixel. And this company, they usually tear cameras down to try and work out how to shoot infrared with cameras, to change them to use infrared. But they found a chip that they believe is responsible for the timing of shutting down the Canon cameras, which is not related to heat. It's related to the timer. It's a whole article that I'm not going to go through, but I will leave this so that you can have a read of what's going on, because I've thought it was fascinating about what's going on. Now, I think down the bottom, did they mention about the cripple hammer? I think they did. Down here, it says here, while it seems definitive that Canon is using the timer circuit to shut down the R5 in overheating, We can only speculate as to why for now. It is possible that it's there to cripple the camera, but it's still possible that there are some overheating concerns for this weather seal body, and they are shutting down the camera based on a timer schedule for now for longevity. In other words, they're saying it might destroy the camera if they let it overheat. And it just says down here, which is interesting, that I would approach any of these bypass strategies with extreme caution. And they're also talking about bypassing how online there's bits where they use toothpicks and all this sort of stuff, to get around this and removing the battery and stuff like that. And they're saying that they would approach these bypass strategies with extreme caution, as they will probably not only void your warranty, yeah, of course, but potentially fry your camera from extended shooting. This is nuts. We will plan to open up the R5. So they're talking about they're going to look at it later, and they're going to add heat sinks and aluminium bits and all that to try and get rid of the heat. Like, this is crazy that you should have to do this to get a camera to work effectively. And I'm really a bit sad for Canon shooters that are out there. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you because I thought it was a bit of interesting news. All right, let's go to Q&A for a couple of minutes. 105. 05. 50. Okay, so let's go and see here. Let me just check. I'm not going to go right back because it'll be too far. Delta Dave said phase detect can result in banning, and that's a good point, Delta Dave. Yeah, that can happen. I haven't had that happen, but yes, it can, particularly with certain lenses, and I've discussed that before, actually. I'd still prefer that, though, and have it in focus and have it not in focus. Scott's saying, hello, everyone. Hi, Scott. How are you? It works fine for the G9 until you start moving a lot. It gets a bit unpredictable. For about 80% of the time it works, but 20% misfocus for video is kind of a big deal. Yeah, because if it's the shot you need, like if I'm shooting a bride and she's walking down the aisle and it's not in focus, that's a game changer. Raymond said, just read something interesting. Image Edge Mobile was updated and can now do touch, focus and tracking for the A7S Mark III. I showed that last week in last week's live show. It's amazing. It's an amazing feature. So if you want to see it working, I actually showed that last week. And it's great. It's such a cool feature. I wish we had that with everything else. And it even works with manual focus as well, where you can rack focus. It's such a cool feature. The A7R4 paired with the 7200 GM is the bomb. Yep, great couple of bits of kit there. Focus racking via the app. Neat. Yep, works great with the A7S III. What's in that Milo? It's got chocolate. Nothing else. It's a bit cold now, though. Hope the app sucks less. I can't bring myself to using that junk. Yeah, hopefully it works well. Yamaha go for the... Oh, you're talking about to someone else there. Same as the A7 III sensor without the Sony limitations. I'm not sure what that was about. I heard a quote of how gigantic the 8K files on the R5 are like for 10 minutes of video, and it's ridiculous. Yeah, that's why I couldn't justify using those file sizes, just because of the storage requirements alone. Use more sound effects, David. Sony A7 A5000, please. Who needs video focus anyway? Hocus focus, I love it. I should do this. Who needs video focus anyway? You ready? I have another one. Wait till you hear this one. I'm like a child, honestly. My Canon 85 1.2 on my Sony body has way more fall off. I love that lens. You're lucky you've got that, Mark. If ever we do a shoot together, you've got to lend it to me. The internet is super. The interest in super fast lenses is interesting, given that the obsession with smaller and smaller bodies. Look, the reason why they interest me is because if you're shooting a low light, they can be such a big advantage. It's not the fact of that incredible depth of field. That has a part to it too for occasional shoots. It's more for the fact of being able to shoot in very, very dark environments. Remember, if you've got an f1 lens and your subject's standing a long way away, everything will be in focus anyway. And that's the beauty of having a really fast lens. I used to love the f1 lens. I think it was a 0.95 lens that I had with my GH5, which was the Voigtlander. And I used to use that in receptions. And because I was a fair way from all of the brides doing their speeches, I could open the lens up to 0.95, keep the shutter speed and the keep the ISO down, and I'd have much cleaner footage. And because they were so far away, everything was in focus. So remember, it all depends on how you use your the depth. The 50 f1 full frame, under 500 grams, 67mm filter thread. Wishful thinking. Tony said, just got the 70 to 200 2.8 GM today, and the focus on it is instantaneous. Yeah, it's very, very quick. Lovely lens. Buy once, cry once. I love it. Canon put an entire chip in for the timeout. I know. I love it. It's incredible. What would they... would think they could easily implement that in the other existing chips. Many times, cry many times like it. Okay, yeah, you're talking to each other. Paper Squishy Life. That must be Paisha, is it? Or is it? No, it might be Hope saying hi, Granddad. Hello, whichever one it is. I can never remember because they always put these names up on YouTube and stuff. So whoever it is, whichever one of my grandchildren it is, hello. It's probably Paisha or Lenny, I would think. Or it could be Hope. Nivak said, the Canon overheating issue is simple. Don't bust the camera to force them to fix them. Don't shortcut the timer. You'll end up with a $4,000 brick. I know it may overheat. And looking at that other article, it might fry the boards, which is interesting. Don't buy the cameras, rather. She's saying hi, Grandad, again. How cute. It's Lenny. Hi, Lenny. How are you? Love you, Lenny. What about the Sony Alpha A7 III? It's the best for weddings, please. Yes, the A7 III is a great weddings camera. In fact, that's what Kerry mostly uses, the A7 III. So we do use those. I've got two of them. So I use one and an A9, and Kerry also has an A7 III as well. She's always using the A7 III. The A7 III, even with its age now, is an incredible all-rounded camera. Pema said, what video specs coming from the A7 IV? Well, I think the A7 IV will have 4K 60. I don't think it's going to reach anything like what the A7S III has, but it probably will be 4K 10-bit. It might be 420. Or it may just not offer the higher megabits that the A7S III has. But you will get more resolution for stills, obviously, but I don't think it's going to offer what the A7S III has. But I still think it'll be 4K 60. I want the a35 Sony version. Laugh out loud, you're having too much fun with the demo effects. I know, you wouldn't believe half of the ones that I've got. Voigtlander plus autofocus needs to happen. I know, I love those Voigtlander lenses. That was a beautiful lens. I sold it when I sold my GH5, but it was a beautiful lens. The 35, 40, 50 are small and light. Heck, I would even like to have full frame mount on my smartphone. Tony said, hi, David. So when did you get your A7S III pre-order in? Tony said, laugh out loud. Scott said, I'm still very happy with the A7 III. Yep, nothing wrong with the A7 III, that's for sure. Pema said, how much different 10-bit 422 versus 420? Massive. You're talking about millions of different colors. But remember, there's a massive file size difference. You probably find 420 is going to be okay for most of you. The 422, if you're pushing in post, will make a big difference. If you want to grade it a lot, 420 makes a massive difference. 422 makes a massive difference. I probably would mostly shoot with 420, but I'd have to test it and see the differences. I probably would find 10-bit 420 would be enough for the way that I shoot. I mean, I'm often quite happy with the 8-bit Sony footage anyway, so this is going to be 10-bit, 420 is going to be a big step up from that alone. But I'd have to do some tests. If I get the a7s III, I'll test that for sure. Hi, Carol. Good to see that you made it. It's just about finished, though, so we're just about out of here. So that's about it, guys. Thank you so much, Lenny, for joining us. Granddad loves you. I'll find a sound for you, Lenny. Hang on. Let me have a look. Let me see if I can find a really good sound for you, in case if you're in here. Let me have a look. River leaves, high heel, magical. I'll do this one. Here we go. Oh, no. Hang on. Hasn't done it yet. Oh, I think I have to change the banks. I don't think I can do it. No. Oh, there's one for you, Lenny. It's like a princess. This is what Lenny, she's my little princess. You ready? That's for you, Lenny. Love you. Let's have a look. Is the Sony a7 IV... Pema said, is Sony a7 IV with Canon? Yes. It will compete with the R6. The Canon a7 IV would compete with the R6, not the A5. The A5 is a different beast. The Panasonic... Oh, sorry. I was thinking of the R5. It would compete with the R6 and have similar features to the A5 as well. But it'll compete with both of those sort of cameras. To all the fathers out there, wishing you all a happy Father's Day. Yes. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Happy Father's Day for Sunday, everyone. Stay safe, that's for sure. And apart from that, that's about it. And I'll see you all in the next video. Please, if you haven't watched that video, check the one out that I've just put out for that. I've got one... that's the last video before this. Amazing, this little thing. Also, I'll have a video up of the new slider that I've got. I've got a motorized slider. Gilbert's just joined us just as we're leaving. I've got a motorized slider that I'm going to review in the coming days, and I've got some other things that are coming in the coming days as well as some shoots that I'm going to post too coming up. I've got to do a couple that we did in LA and stuff like that, or Vegas. Apart from that, everyone... have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Hope you really enjoy your day. Can't wait for mine. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, everyone. Please give me a thumbs up too. I really would appreciate it. It does make a difference for the channel. Thank you, everyone. See you later.